Okay, here we go. Okay. So once again, down at the bottom it's by the Shefa Hagavanos. We see four different hamshachos. The first one, hamshachos the chug lezeranpin. That's the general idea. When does this take place? On the asa b'tebes via the bracha. And that's where we got to now. So when you say the word avaya, you're starting the hamshacha into zeranpin of the chug. Number bet is the second one, hamshachos chug lenuk. So that if it goes with zeranpin, he wants to give it to the nuk. Hanaasa b'teves sfiras omer. So in that word, sfiras omer, that hamshacha to the nuk goes there. The bracha. He says number gimel hamshachos chug lezer anpen. Hamshacha the chug lezer anpen ha'asas b'teves hayom the sfira. So now you said the yom. You say up to the word hayom. And then number four, hamshachas chug hana'asas be'esas sfira atzmis. When you say today is, for example, is the 20th day. But Rabbi Bir's kach v'kach la'omer when you say that phrase. Now those are four different hamshachos which we said yesterday. So he says Azma v'chana b'kol yom lahamshech chelik mahachug. So we're every day we're taking a portion of the Chasadim and the Gevurot, and he has a new phrase, b'derech hadechiyus. Now I'm going to go down to number. Not the number, to where it says in the black print, it says Mahalik Shani. Let me see. We have to go back a little bit. Okay, so going back a little bit on the right column, now we're on the page Daled Shin. So he says, and he has an enumeration here of three different parts. So let's see what he said. B'tevis avaya de bracha de mshachos de za achug de b'chinas ach. So now he goes and wants to say it over like this. So the first thing is that the acharayim, and he wants to make sure we know that these two operations, that is the operation that delivers the ach and also that delivers the panim, are different. So he said a number of bases, but the David Spheres the Omer, Halchug the ach nimshach the zach nimshach and halanuk. So he's just putting this into context. Number Gimel, he says, B'tevis hayom, the sfira, nimshachem, achud, the bechinas panim, el zer anpin. So now we have the acharayim going to zer anpin, then going to the nuk, and now we have going to the mochin, the panim. Or he says, B'tevis hayom, the sfira, nimshachem, achud, the bechinas panim, el zer anpin. So now he's telling us that the Chasadim and the Gevurot have a front part and they have a back part. So the fourth one, this is called the hamshacha de dechiyus. So the hamshacha haravi is the dechiyus. Which is that? This is as each aspect of the chug is coming in. There's 10 of them. It's going to push its way down into 7 different slots. So let's see. I know there are 10. So he says there's 10, but there must 10 individually. But each one individually, there are 7 spots for them. Let me see if we can understand it better. Haravi is the chiyus. He's buried in Yana Lugalan besmoke. Now we're going to come. I'm going to start talking about this. Let me move my camera around a little bit, and we'll come down closer. Now he says, Machalach Sheni Shen'ema Bezeh. So this, the first Machalach, basically, there's one way that the Kabbalim look at this. And then there's a second one. The Hine Noda, this comes from the Rechovos Nahar. The mitzvah saseh d'oraisa misukanim b'mamshichim mochin lezuna gedolim. So there is a gezuna gedolim. Shehem parts of their anpin the klaus atzilus. Now he explains what is zuna gedolim. So zuna gedolim is actually the parts of their anpin. But wait a minute, it said zun. The mitzvah say the rabbanan. So when we get to a mitzvah, which is the bracha here, misak decham mamshichim mochin the zuna akatanim. This is going to be the unakatanim, which is Yaakov Arachel shehem the parts of nuk the klaus atzilus, which now we see that Yaakov and Rachel, he had said this previously, represent the Nook, and Chazuna Gedolim represents their Anpin. So it to say, well, what is exactly saying here? So he says, Vihine, let me see, I just lost the place for a second. I don't put my finger there. Mitzvah said the Rabbanim, we did that. He said the Yaakov, he said Vihine. Here we go. Vihine RASHASH in the Nar Shalom, and he gives a side reference, is cause of the SEFIRAH Omer Hu D'Oraisa. So he writes that counting the Omer is a Torah commandment. Hu D'Oraisa v'im came na'asim hatekunim the mitzvah SEFIRAH Omer bezuna gedolim. So therefore, that means that since it's D'Oraisa, he just gave us a definition over there. It's dealing with zuna gedolim. So he really concentrates on that. He's pointing that out. B'dayas poskim, ayin bir holocho. So he says, he gives a side reference. The gam bisman is there that also nowadays, mitzvah SEFIRAH Omer he midoraisa. He said that SEFIRAH Omer is from D'Oraisa. And that even if you paskin, like the poskim who say, Shemitzvah SEFIRAH Omer Bizman Zerav who rock midrabanan, because we're in Galus. Let me move this up a little bit. Midrabanan. But when we talk about the tikkunim that are taking place in the upper worlds, so this little phrase that he has is because it's taking place. He said, I'm not sure that I really understand. If it's midrabanan, then it's dealing with the lower level. But here he says that actually the tikkun itself, though, is taking place in the olamos elyonim. So therefore, since that's really what it's dealing with, you'll be dealing with the gzuna gedolim, as if it was a deraisa. So he says, mitzvah deraisa, because to start with, this he's explaining this. I'm assuming that this is the TIV writing this. So he said, mitzvah deraisa. So since the beginning of this, it's a mitzvah deraisa. The chem av the bisman azeh that we're in galus azeh he midrabanan, and it is as a result of that we're the rabbanan. Mikol makom klape hatikudim anifa'alim al yada. But if you look in terms of what actually affected has, and the tikkun, the wonderful tikkun it does through this, lo nishtana chadavar, so that they don't nothing changed. In other words, it's still considered to have effect on zuna gedolim. So now let's see over birchas mitzvahs. He mitzvah the b'revana. Now we know the brachas are mitzvah the b'revana. V'lo hamshocha na'asach v'lechein hamshocha na'asim al yedei. Bracha, the hamshacha that comes as a result of this bracha. Heim bezuna katanim Yaakov Rachel is going to be it's going to be because that's the bracha. The brachas to the Rabbana nimsa. They hamshachas and naasa bebracha b'tevis avaya b'tevis SEFIRAH Omer, which we talked about here. Heim nimshachas the Yaakov Rachel that wind up going into Yaakov Rachel. For hamshachas and naasa b'SEFIRAH Omer, but the hamshacha that takes place in the SEFIRAH Omer b'tevis hayom, when you say the hayom, or b'eis, actually you come and you say kach Omer, hein lezuna gedolim. So this is what he's saying. So your kavana is zuna gedolim or zuna katanim, or maybe both at the same time. It seems like what he's saying, because you have 4 different kinds of ways of this coming out. According to those people who say that you do half and half, it's like part of it, the bracha is part of it, but the Amira itself, when you say hayom and count the day, it actually brings it into zuna gedolim. Now, according to the shita of these people, the shitasim sarach lomer, Then the Meshachim Hug Hein the Bechinas Ach Bechen the Bechinas Panim Yachdav. So he says, according to this thinking now, you're sending out the Bechinas of the Ach and the Bechinas of the Panim at the same time. Now, he wants to go over this a little bit, and so he's going to say like this. V'seda hamshachos, the sheet zu is like this. The first hamshachos, so he had said previously that there are 4 of them. So I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about now, because here we're going into Zuna Gedolim and Zuna Katanim. He said, the bracha, so you got to the word avaya, which is where we are at we are now. And just like we see in the middle of this Havaya, you have a Ravua of the concept of loss Adam over there. Here, we're kind of like in the middle also. We got into that space after we said the word Adni, Havaya, that we're in that space. That's the space we're in right now. But Tevis Avai the bracha, let me say it again. V'seder hamshacha l'shita zuhi 1. But Tevis Avai the bracha, Nimshacha Mechud Zud, the parts of Yaakov and Rachel, that's what happens at that part. The hind of Rebecheda Kama, the parts of Nuk, Hakolel, Haklali. Now he wants to come in and get a little bit more particular about this. And he wants to say, let's read again one more time just to get a feeling for where he's going. He said, you say the word Havai, Baruch Atah Havai. That's, like I say, that's where we're at right now. What happens now is Nimshachim Achug L'zah, the parts of Yaakov and Rachel. That brings the Shklug into Yaakov and Rachel. The Hainu Chedek Hamah, the parts of Nuk HaKlali. So let's look back and let's see. And he's going to explain this. He says the Nuk HaKlali has a Ma aspect to it. Pirish, the Halol Noida, should call parts of Atzilus, Partsufi Atzilus, all the Partsufim in Olam of Atzilus, which is to great extent a world of the formation of letters. I'm thinking that. Shekal Partsufi Atzilus Na'asim Mechelke Hamalachim Shenishbro Shehem Shem Ben. So there is a Ben aspect. So when there's a break, what broke is the Ben. Mechelke Shem Ma HaChadesh Amasakna. But also at the same time, there is also a Ma Chadash that's coming to be able to fix them up, to build them up. The parts of Nuk HaKolel D'Atzilus. So when we look at the Nuk HaKolel D'Atzilus, Na'asar Memalchus the Ma Memalchus the Ben, it's a mixture. Chedek Hama Shalal is the Zun, the Klalos parts of Hanuk HaNikra Yaakov. Now let's look at this again. The Ma part of start again. Chelek HaMashalah, who's their Anpin, the Klalos parts of Hanuk Nikra Yaakov. So there is a Ma aspect, what they use the word of Zah, a Zah aspect, that's part of the Nuk. This is called Yaakov because he has said several times that, and also we're learning the language here a little bit. He's helping us out a little bit in the language of the RASHASH. So he says the Klalos parts of the Nuk and Nikra Yaakov. So Yaakov is part of the Nuk, but it's the Ma part. The Chelek Ben Shalok, he is who the Nuk, the Klalos parts of a Nuk. So the Nuk is always, even though the Nuk is the Nuk is a Ma and a Ben, not just a Ben. So he the Nuk, and the Nuk is called Rachel. Number base. So he says number base. Let me see how we'll do this here. Okay, there we go. Batavis al Svir. So now you come to the word al Svirsa Omer. Svirsa Omer Nimshachim Machu b'makom shenimshku l'sham dahainu hazah hanizkar. Now let's see if I got the right. Is it sham or shame? He said Batavis al Svirsa Omer. Now you come to Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, and you get to the Svirsa Omer. Baruch Atah Hashem. And then you're going to say the day. Then Mishachim ha'chug b'makom shenimshkuch l'sham d'hainu hazer anpin hanizkar. So we're going to send this into Zer Anpin. V'nimshachim al Nook, the parts of Yaakov, and their arse go into the Nook, which is Rachel, he said before, under the parts of Yaakov, Rachel, the Hainu, Chedek ben, the parts of Nook, Kolel. Not sure if I really understood this well. Let me read it one more time. When you say the word al SEFIRAH Omer, what happens then is there's a hamshacha, the chug. Nimshachim al chug b'makom. So this phrase here is a little hard for me. From the place, shenimshchuch l'sham, that is extended down to that place, that is Tizer Anpin and Nizkar. V'nimshachim al Nook, and then it's going to go to the Nook. That's the second part. The parts of Yaakov or Rachel, Chaina Chedeka ben, the parts of Nook Kolel. So you're going to send it, in other words, you're going to send it to Rachel. Rachel is the part of Malchus, or let's say of that Nook, which is the Nook part. Number Gimel, but Tavis, now you come to the word Hayom, the Sefirah. Nimshachim hachug l'zuna gedolim. So these are all kavanos. So he said, you said the hayom, what you're doing is you're being nimshachim hachug l'zuna gedolim. Now it's coming to zun hagedolim. But the shita rishonim, according to the first shita, which right now is not on the tip of my tongue. Let's see what he says. Azai kol hamshachos heim l'zuna gedolim. Everything really is not going to Yaakov and Rachel. Everything is going to the zuna gedolim. Even the hamshacha that comes in the bracha, which we said was the Rabbanan, and so therefore it should go to Rachel and Rachel. He says, according to a second shita, though, there are those who say that the whole thing comes at one time. The bracha he mitzvah the Rabbanan, and even though the bracha itself is a mitzvah the Rabbanan, this shita holds the yesh, the yasha, the bracha shel mitzvah the arisa po'elas ke mitzvah the arisa. There's those who hold that you make a bracha on a mitzvah the arisa, which is midrabanan. Even so, it has like the status of the arisa. Kevid bracha shayachas the mitzvahs, because the bracha really is tied. It's a shayach to the mitzvah. The brachos and berachos of mitzvah, he mitzvah the rabbanan. So just like he said, we call macham shacha who could mitzvah the raisa. But what actually happens as a result of it is a mitzvah the raisa. Now this is according to the shita that holds that everything happens at one time and not different parts. So in the Sidurim, so what Sidurim are we talking about? Obviously, this one, Rechovos Anahar. They all hold Machalak Arisha. So some of it's going to the Rabbanan, some of the Rabbanan, some of it's going to Yaakov and Rachel, some of it's going to Zona Gedolim. Also, what we have here, which is the RASHASH sitter. But this requires further explanation. So that we're talking now about this hamshacha. This is the fourth hamshacha. This hamshacha, which is made b'shas and miras kach v'kach. When you say today is the 20th day of the Omer, for example, you say that phrase. V'kach l'omer nimshach and so excuse me, I read it wrong. B'shas and miras kach v'kach l'omer. When you say like that, nimshachas the zara v'nuk. So then it's coming to Zah and his nuk. V'hi hanikras chug the dechius. It has a new name. So it's the chug that actually causes the flow of what was yesterday to go into we have 7 days and we have 7 different aspects of Shafa that are coming in. He's going to talk about that a little bit more too. That actually causes everything to go downwards until it fits into its proper place. Because here's what it is. The chug has already been done, is already mumshach. Hein the panim v'hein the ach. So this is either according to either shita, v'chein shita sheni. Even if you say the second shita, nimshko I'll call upon him. In any case, they are flow started stream downwards. Panim hachug the zechad the zuna gedolim. So you're going to the chug of the zolim. In either case. Shemen sauce. Now let's go to the shemen sauce. So the shemen sauce. Are we out of time? Out of time? Apparently. 6:10. Okay, well, that seems to be where we're at right now. I'm not sure exactly what happened, so I guess we're out of time. The Rebbe had to go someplace else. This is the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. I am Baruch Fleischman, I am the lift manager, but now I became the Sabbath Kollel.